So far, I see Councilor De La Cruz, Councilor Abdu, Councilor Estela Reyes, and myself. We have 4. We need 1 more to start the meeting. And John, obviously, when people start coming, I have other counselors on, let them in as soon as you can, right away. And I think we probably have a quorum right now, John. Is that true? I think we do. Very good. Okay, this is the Lawrence City Council meeting. Today is March 2nd, 2021. Let me read the legal stuff before the meeting begins. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public meeting of the Lawrence City Council for the City of Lawrence, Mass. is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and/or view this meeting while in progress by use of the Facebook and YouTube web access sites referenced below. Members of the public attending this meeting will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearings designated for public comment by use of the web and phone access provided in this agenda notification, and that is the Facebook Lawrence City Council page, the YouTube Lawrence City Council page, and obviously this Zoom address. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ana Levy. Noted. Councilor Gonzalez. Councilor Gonzalez. Councilor Selena Reyes.
Present.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Councilor Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilor Abdu.
Present.
Councilor Payano.
Present.
Councilor De La Cruz.
Present.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Present.
Councilor Estela Reyes.
Present.
Council President LaPlante.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Now, will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. John, if you wouldn't mind bringing the folks on board who are in our waiting room in case they want to be a part of public participation. As always, please keep your time to 2.5 minutes. Please don't address any individual city council, but the council as a whole. Direct your comments actually to the chair. And what I'm going to try to do this evening, we have a lot of people who really wish to speak on a lot of matters. I am going to try to use the hand raising feature that Zoom provides for us. So if you could raise your hand, I'm going to, as I see them, I will then call on you. So we're going to start public participation at this point. If you wouldn't mind raising anybody who wishes to speak right now, raise the hand and I will unmute you.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. We the citizen welcome great leader, Honorable Leader Kendrick Vasquez, as our provisional mayor of our great city. Honorable Kendrick Vasquez is loved by many Laurentians, and as a true leader, he ordered time to open in the calling center for vaccination. We the citizen are united behind Honorable Kendrick Vasquez as a great leader. In this darkest era of human history that our fellow human dying from the dreaded COVID-19, we demand of you support our police officers and their union. Support Lawrence Police Seniors Officers Union, Lawrence Police Department with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Roy Vass has done excellent job to support our citizens. We are united to say with one voice, contract for Lawrence Police now. In this most dangerous time in the history of human being, we support our hardworking DPW workers and their leadership. We are grateful to our teachers and Lawrence Teachers Union. In this pandemic era, Lawrence Public School continue education of our children with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Cynthia Paris. Lawrence Public School moving forward. In this darkest era of human history, we the Laurentians remain united to support our police department. We the citizen asking contract for Lawrence Police now. We support our brave firefighters, DPW and Teachers Union. We support the leadership of Honorable Henry Vasquez. We pray for well-being of our fellow citizens in darkest pandemic. We say Lawrence always is strong. Lawrence always unite. Contract for Lawrence Police now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Molly. The next person whose hand I see up is someone by the name of Imelda. Would you please, I want to unmute you. Please give your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, it's Imelda Kenny, and my resident address is 267 Merrimack Street in Lawrence, Mass. I'm first time to attend a meeting, but there is a matter on the agenda that is a concern of mine, and I wanted to address it, and I wasn't sure when was the time to address it.
If you're looking to speak on either document 3620, the east side of Osgood Street, or 3720, west side of Osgood Street, there is a public hearing immediately after the public participation. That would be the time to speak on these matters.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during this public participation? I am looking for hands up if there are anybody, and I'm not seeing anybody. So at this point, I'm sorry, is there someone who wishes to speak?
Yes, it's Pat Mariano.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Pat Mariano,
Hello.
your name and address, please. And I know there's somebody else after you who wishes to speak, so go ahead.
All right, my name is Pat Mariano. I reside at 28 Ridgewood Circle in Lawrence. Good evening, councilors. Yes. Do you hear me, Councilor?
Go ahead, Ms.
Flint?
Mariano. Go right ahead.
Yes, I understand a housing development is up for discussion this evening. And I'm concerned about the impact of the number of families that's going to have on the school system. And I urge the councilors before before this project is approved, that discussion should be held with the school department as far as the impact it will have on the new Oliver School and any other schools in the central district of the city. The central part of the city is the most crowded when it comes to seats for children. And I worry about any new development in this area impacting the schools. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. And I urge you to please be thoughtful before you consider approving this project, and hold some discussions with the school department prior to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mariano. I believe we do have someone with the last four digits of 4860 who wishes to speak. Please unmute yourself on the phone and name and address, please.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You have the floor. Identify yourself, please.
Okay. Good evening, councilors. I'm Richard Russell, 34 Cross Street. It's been a while. Several issues. I'm still awaiting an application from Guinness's Book of World Records. I want to enter the 6-second public hearing on the proposed changes to the city charter on February 16th into their fast gavel hearing category. I would like to offer a friendly suggestion that the council table any and all discussion and voting on the charter changes until the public has had an opportunity to have face-to-face input with the council. How long did the 2010 charter review remain tabled until it was withdrawn from the agenda? Also, did any of you councilors receive my email comments regarding some of the proposed changes to the city charter? 2, how come the city of Lawrence has issues in posting the coronavirus numbers in a timely manner? From January 2nd through February 27th, 11 of the 58 days has not had coronavirus postings daily. Last, an issue near and dear to my heart and to my rights as a voter in Lawrence. When are, honest to goodness, face-to-face meetings with the city council going to resume? The coronavirus numbers haven't been this low since the beginning of last April when they started ramping up. The Lawrence City Council, with your virtual meetings, have managed to emphasize the zoo in Zoom meetings. In closing, I would like to point out that on March 10th, it will be the first anniversary of the last council meeting open to the public. Happy anniversary. You have done so much without proper public input. As always, I thank you for the time to address this body. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to use this time during public participation? Please raise your hand or say something. I am not seeing anybody else wishing to speak. Oh, I see Miss Rosa Pena wishes to speak. Go right ahead, Miss Pena. Unmute yourself, please. Name and address.
Can you hear me now?
Very good. Yes, you have.
Hi,
the
good
floor.
evening. My name is Rosa P. Thank you. My name is Rosa Pina, 988 Essex Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts, 01841. I wanted to, I heard Mrs. Mariano, or Pariano, I don't want to mispronounce her name, about the housing on Park Island Street. One of the reasons I'm sitting on the board of the Lawrence Community Works. I'm currently the president of the Lawrence Community Works. And the school system. However, being a previous housing inspector in the city of Lawrence, I realized that many of the families that are going to those projects, to the low cost housing, are people that are already residing in the city, are children that are already in the school system. I got to visit houses, 3-bedroom houses that have 4 families living on it. So one of the reasons why housing developing in the city of Lawrence, especially affordable housing development, is critical to the city, because the houses are already overpopulated, which is a safety hazard, not only for the tenants, but for everybody involved in that building. I got the opportunity of, unfortunately, seeing families that were living in 1 bedroom and they have 4 kids or 3 kids. So those housing opportunities are going to people that are already living in the city, to children that are already in the school system. So I don't think that will put a strain into the system at this point. So I vote in favor. I would like for you to take into consideration the Mass Works grant and vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pena. Is there anybody else in the public who wishes to use this time? Seeing none. Seeing none. Oh, I see Mr. Harden. Go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself. Name and address, please, for the record.
Sorry, I was actually just wanted to get your attention to, because I saw somebody else's hand, Jacoba's.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter? I'm not seeing anybody at this point. So the public participation now is over. Thank you very much for those who just.
I'm sorry, but Jacoba keeps raising her hand, but a little bit later. So she's trying to, Jacoba, why don't you, if you can, unmute yourself?
I'm not seeing the individual that's looking to be able to speak.
I think there's a delay.
What is the individual's screen name?
Jacoba Oliveira.
Jacoba Olivero.
Very good.
50
You have the floor, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Okay, 50 Island Street. Good night, everybody. My name is Jacoba Olivero. I am Union Crossing resident at 50 Island Street, built by Lawrence Community Work. I am be happy to live in this place because it's quite comfortable and a low cost of rent. My presence here tonight is to support the construction of 2 buildings with 40 apartments each, with parking for tenants and visitors. They will be located at Island Street. Lawrence Community Work is known for building houses at low cost for Lawrence residents because it is a high-need community. I want to support this project because it is going to be a benefit to our city. I think that my neighbor deserves a better lifestyle. Now, I want to request everybody who is here or there to support this project because constructing these 8 apartments, our neighbor also allows the opportunity to have low-cost rents, commercial spaces, such as grocery and pharmacy, that are true benefits. Lawrence Community Work is a non-profit organization whose mission is to give our community a better life.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate your comments this evening. I will do one more search. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter? Speak on public participation? Again, I am not seeing anybody. Is that first name is Lenovo? Okay.
It's Nancy Colon Torres. I am a resident of Lawrence here in the city. I live in 129 Garden Street, and I'm for this project because why? Because the city right now, the rents are so high and ridiculous. This is so important, this project, because it's giving hope to others to have a opportunity to have a low income, just like me and just like a lot of family out there. We really need this project. It's 40 to 80 residents that could have hope to get an apartment there, low income. That's my my way to say that Lawrence could do something better for their residents. We really need this project, and we could give, all of you could give this vote. Hopefully you could give hope to those families that are living in little boxes. I mean, you know, like rooms, like families that I have seen so much, and they call us and they speak with us. That's why I'm here tonight. And thank you for your time, and God bless.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Anybody else wish to speak this evening during public participation? I am doing my very best to scan the screen to see if but I'm not finding anybody at this point. So now I will call public participation to be over. Again, I want to thank everybody who decided to participate tonight. Thank you very much for your comments. The names and your comments will be part of the official record of the Lawrence City Council, and we do thank you for your comments. First part of this evening is public hearings. The first public hearing is document 3620, East Side Osgood Street, 1 hour parking from Merrimack Street to a point 60 feet southbound. The public hearing, would the clerk please read the public hearing notice?
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with the public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new section, 10.36.220 of the Municipal Code, 1 hour parking as follows. Osgood Street, both sides from Merrimack Street to the railroad tracks. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The public hearing is now open. I believe there is a resident who wishes to speak on this. Ms. Imelda, this is your time. Do you wish to speak on this matter now?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Councillor. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm curious as to why the city is going with an all parking on that street that basically houses 2 residents, and the house the house building structure that I live in on the 2nd floor. I use the parking on Oxford Street, even though I have a case coming up to discuss that further with regards to the fact that my resident address is at 267 Merrimack Street. I use the entrance of Osgood Street, and I have only ever used that entrance on Osgood Street. The entrance to on Merrimack Street was never even a consideration to use as an entrance. And I know that my parking pass says Merrimack Street, and I do park on Osgood Street because that is the entrance that I use to come into the apartment. And there is a residence parking permit there now from basically the telegraph pole from where the residence of the second house or the first house on Osgood Street is. And I want to understand, why is that being removed when the residents are using that side of the street? Because the other side was a residence spot as well, but that was taken during COVID and when the barricades were put up for the restaurant, Eli's Diner. I'm a resident and I'm curious, and I think the neighbors are curious. And I hope we have good, solid answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Couple things, Ms. Imelda, I'm going to put on the chat my cell phone number. If you can take a look at that, feel free to call me. Your questions are dealing with permit parking, not specifically with this restriction on Osgood Street. So feel free to contact me afterwards. We can follow up on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll do that right now. And I'll shoot it. My number's public all the time, 978-376-6702. Feel free to use that to call me. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by the chair and vice president and seconded by the district D councilor. Would the chair be willing to perhaps amend their motion to make the Merrimack Street to a point 62 feet southbound?
Yes.
The new motion now is to 1 hour parking from Merrimack Street to a point 62 feet southbound. That is the motion, and it has been rightfully seconded. Any discussion on the matter? Discussion by Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, I mean, I'm just wondering to see if you can give an explanation to the lady that is here already tonight. She was the only one speaking. Usually we don't get anybody coming to this public hearing, and she took the time to come over. You were the author of of the item, so why not give the answer now? Because I'm curious as well, if the residents are here.
Yeah, so I thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez. So the chair has commented to the constituent and has made the aware that there's a series of different Merrimack Street and other projects. What she is looking to do is something that I think that we can perhaps take a look at more seriously, but it does not deal specifically with 1 hour parking. It's dealing with permit parking, which is a completely different situation. But as I mentioned, as you heard, with the resident, I'm happy to work with her after the meeting to figure out what we can do to resolve the problem. Anybody else wishes, any other councils wish to speak on this matter?
Council President,
Councilor De La Cruz?
yes, can we table the matter until you have a discussion with the lady, and then with all the respect to the lady, we can come back and make a final decision?
Is that your motion, Counselor?
Yes.
That is a privileged motion. There is a motion to table. There is no discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please. Clerk?
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Salida Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
and Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. Motion is tabled. The next document is document 3720. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice. Clerk, are you able to access the public hearing notice? I'm looking for Clerk Ruiz or Assistant Clerk Burnell.
I think she's looking for it. Oh, she can't hear the meeting. She's trying to connect.
Okay.
One moment.
Assistant Clerk Burnell, can you hear us?
She can't hear, but I'm gonna read it. Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by
I'm
electronic
going to try
means.
dialing into the meeting. I don't know what else to do.
Go ahead, Clerk Ruiz.
Sorry. Conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations and effects. The purpose of such hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinance of the City of Lawrence, to be further amended by adding the following new section: 10.36.220 of the Municipal Code. 1 hour parking as follows: Osgood Street, both sides from Merrimack Street to the railroad tracks. To the extent that there exists any ordinance to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I can't see who seconded. Who was that?
Selena Reyes.
Thank you much. Thank you, by Councilor Selena Reyes. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk,
Council-
please call the roll.
Council President,
Oh, yes, Ms. Dela Cruz?
yes, isn't it that case similar to the same item, document 3620?
It is across the street, Ms. Dela Cruz,
Oh, okay.
other side of the street.
Okay.
Any other comments on this matter? Or by councilors? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Reyes,
Yes.
Selena,
Oh,
sorry,
wow.
Selena, Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Pagano, Councilor Pagano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. The next document is document 4220, handicap parking at 694 Lowell Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
I'm sorry. Can they hear me?
I can hear you, Counselor. Clerk Burnell, you have the floor with the public hearing notice.
Thank you. Be it ordained that the City Council of the City of Lawrence, that the revised ordinance of the City of Lawrence are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.340 of the municipal code, handicapped parking, be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Lowell Street, east side from a point 180 feet northerly of the intersection of Riverside Drive to a point 200 feet northerly of the intersection of Riverside Drive. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. All parties wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Levy to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Estela Reyes. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz, Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Pagano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Motion passes. Next document is document 4320, handicap parking. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinance of the City of Lawrence, to be further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.340 of the municipal code, handicap parking, be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Howard Street, west side from a point 180 feet southerly of the intersection of Alston Street to a point 200 feet southerly to the intersection of Alston Street. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. All persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none. The public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by, motion made by Councilor De La Cruz. Who made the second?
I did.
Counselor Vice President made the second. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. Next document is document 4820, parking on South Union Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence by adding the following paragraph to the section 10.36.250 of the Municipal Code, 20-minute parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. South Union Street, west side, from a point 56 feet northerly of the intersection of Bailey Street to a point 76 feet northerly of the intersection of Bailey Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve and waive the 30 days.
Motion made by Vice President
Second.
to approve and waive the 30 days. It was seconded by whom again?
Selena?
Seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion. Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. Next document is document 5520, parking on Alston Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.330C of the Municipal Code, bus stops, taxi cab stands, ambulance stands, and service zones, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Alston Street, north side, from a point 100 feet westerly of the intersection of Marston Street to a point 140 feet westerly of the intersection of Marston Street, from 6 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., Monday through Friday. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilor Selena Reyes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Stella Reyes. Discussion. Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Of course, yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Motion carries. The next document is 5620, four-way stop sign on the corner of Center and Willow Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding to Section 10.28.100A of the Municipal Code, stop signs and flashing red signals, the following paragraph in their appropriate alphabetical order. Center Street, eastbound and westbound drivers on Center Street at Willow Street. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion?
Yes, discussion, Mr.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that that we follow some regulations when it comes to installation of any stop sign. And that regulation is out of the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, 2009 edition. This is the federal rules and regulations for this type of things. On Chapter 2B says that every time that we install a four-way stop sign, with that four-way stop sign, it comes another sign right under that under that section, that size is 2B05, which is the all-way placket. And that little plaque tells drivers that there is a four-way stop sign, not a two-way stop sign. So I have noticed that throughout the city that every time that we approve a stop sign, they just go ahead and install the older set of stop signs, but not necessarily the little 18 by 6 little placard that is read all ways. I think that somehow, one way or another, we need to send a message to the DPW that when they do the installation, it's also required by law, according to the MUTCD, the federal regulations when it comes to stop signs, that signs is required. With that said, Council President, I would like to make a note on that item, if it's possible, or an amendment to the current motion to actually include the little four-way sign right underneath, as is required by law.
So what the president is understanding is that the member wishes to add some sort of amendment to this document. Essentially, when this document goes before the mayor's signature, that there be some sort of attachment to make sure that the mayor and the administration realizes that there's something here that you would like for them to consider and maybe change.
If we want to do it that way, that's fine. I mean, I just know that it is a state law and a regular regulation that every time that we install a stop sign, it's also required to have that little plaque underneath that is read all ways. So with that said, it's not necessarily, we don't need to have a motion on the item or an amendment or anything like that, because I realize that it's a state law. So I just want to make sure that we discuss this, and when it comes to the installation, they have to install that little signs underneath as well.
Thank you very much. So your comments are on the record now. I see that Mr. Gonzalez wish to have the floor back. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to make a comment. I aware that as a city council of District C, it's not only there what Mr. Rodriguez say, it's a state law. The sign had to have four-way stop. they working on it, and they will make sure, I will make sure all those stuff, they will put what the regulation Mr. Rodriguez say, because that's a state law. They have to have all those signs, four-way stop.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Any other members wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion passes. Next document is document 8320, Handicapped Parking, Hillside Avenue. Clerk, please call the, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new paragraphs to Section 10.36.340 of the Municipal Code, Handicapped Parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Hillside Avenue, east side, from a point 245 feet northerly of the intersection of Haverhill Street to a point 265 feet northerly of the intersection of Haverhill Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Gonzalez makes a motion to
Second.
approve. There's a second by Vice President Reyes. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes. The motion carries. The next document is document 8520, Handicapped Parking on Union Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new paragraph to Section 10.36.340 of the Municipal Code, Handicapped Parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Union Street, east side, from a point 148 feet southerly of the intersection of Elm Street to a point 168 feet southerly of the intersection of Elm Street. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve made by Vice President Estela Reyes, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Councilors, do me a favor. Just to have it make it a little bit easier for me. What I'm going to do is when I first hear the motion being made, I'm going to say that person's name, and then I'm going to ask for a second, and then it'll be easier for me to identify that person. So the motion has been made by the Vice President, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Any discussion on the matter?
Council President, suggestions on the technology.
Mr. Rodriguez has the floor.
Just on the technology sections, if you actually go ahead and on the top view on the right, there is a viewer section. If you put to view the speaker, you will see who is talking when it comes to the motion, and then the second. You will see the person right there.
Councilor Rodriguez, thank you so much. You get to stick around for the rest of the evening. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any further discussions on this matter? That's actually very helpful. Thank you. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. Next document is document 9320, Handicapped Parking on Farnham Street. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.340 of the Municipal Code, Handicapped Parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Farnham Street, north side, from a point 195 feet easterly of the intersection of South Union Street to a point 215 feet easterly of the intersection of South Union Street. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing and the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we're motion made by Mr. Gonzalez. Unfortunately, my screen did not go to the second person. So I'll ask who made that second of that motion. Councilor Vice President Sellers. I will continue trying, Councilor Rodriguez. We're going to keep getting this till we get it right. Motion been made and properly second. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none. The clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz, Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next item is document 15120, a request to amend the zoning ordinance per Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5. This is the proposed planned industrial district. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Bear with me, Council President. I just need 1 second. Thank you. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5, notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony on a proposed amendment to the Lawrence zoning ordinances, amending Section 29-11B, the use table, by changing two uses in the column for the I Industrial 4 Planned Industrial Development District, making the specific uses of shopping center and car wash from being prohibited to being permitted. To the extent that there exists any zoning bylaws to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Clerk. The public hearing is now open. The first person that I see is the Chair Kovalchuk. Go ahead, madam, you got the floor.
Thank you. This is Tamar Kudelchuk, 18 Yale Street, also Chair of the Lawrence Planning Board. I'm here tonight to oppose this amendment to the zoning code for the Planned Industrial District on behalf of the Planning Board, which voted unanimously to recommend against it. Specifically, we believe that the highest and best use for the property along Merrimack Street is in accordance with the zoning for commercial development that provides lots of good jobs for Lawrence residents. It's targeted for medical and food manufacturing and office development, and was adopted with a new zoning process that had lots of public input 2 years ago. We believe that there's not sufficient reason now to change that. And we believe that the critical site along Merrimack at the corner of Lawrence and the old train station and others can bring really positive development that pays good taxes to the city of Lawrence, but we need to market the properties for their highest and best use. And because of that, we recommend against changing the zoning to allow for car washes and shopping centers, which would provide less good jobs and less tax revenue. So we ask you to consider voting against.
Thank you very much. The next person who I saw whose hand was raised was Maggie Superchurch. Go ahead, ma'am, you've got the floor.
Thanks very much, Council President and councilors. Maggie Superchurch, 90 Nesmith Street in Lawrence. I'm also here to request that the council oppose this change to the zoning. And I want to provide a little bit of context in terms of how we got here, building on Chair Kudelchuk's remarks. As many of you know, because many of you were involved, the urban renewal planning process in Lawrence was over a year-long process with 40+ meetings, 400+ people, extensive public participation, and a lot of thinking about what kinds of jobs and economic development we really need in the city to ensure that people have the ability to secure a living wage and work close to where they live. As you all know, Lawrence is a very densely developed city. We don't have a lot of open land. And so the group that was part of this planning process, including our Citizen Advisory Committee, spent a lot of time thinking about what kinds of goals we have and what kind of land we have available to meet those goals. And the area along Merrimack Street was identified as a key area, in part because there is more open land and it's somewhat underutilized relative to much of the rest of the city. The goals for the plan, just to remind those of you who may not have been involved, were centered on economic development, job creation, quality of life, and fiscal stability, recognizing we need to continue to grow the city's tax base. In the course of that analysis, the plan identified several key industries that could support those goals: food manufacturing, specialty manufacturing, and healthcare, particularly for the Merrimack Street corridor. That's in part because that land, in addition to having a fair amount of open space and being underutilized for things like storage and parking that don't generate a lot of jobs, if any at all, that area also has access to plentiful and relatively cost-efficient water, which is a key condition for many kinds of manufacturing, has enough space for the modern floor plates that are required for many types of manufacturing and healthcare uses that can't occupy older mill buildings or smaller downtown lots, and excellent highway access. The urban renewal plan was approved by the city council. The subsequent rezoning was also approved by the city council. And the question before you tonight is why undo it shortly after creating the plan and the zoning put in place to support those goals? I think now more than ever, given what we've seen in this past year with the pandemic and economic challenges, we need quality jobs in the city. We need family sustaining incomes, and we need a tax base to support basic services. So I respectfully ask that you consider the long-term benefits to the city of this zoning and not just benefits to one property or one owner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Superchurch. The next person's hand who I seen raised is Attorney Harley Racer. Sir, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, council members. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm Harley Racer with the law firm Lurie Friedman in Boston. I represent Hafner's Car Wash. I submitted a letter to the president and the councilors on February 22nd. And I just wanted to restate briefly what I set forth in that letter, some of the concerns that we have. There are procedural and substantive deficiencies here, which would be in violation of Chapter 40A, Section 5, if it were to go forward. Procedurally, this came up in the same form and substance essentially about a year ago and passed the city council with a divided vote, but the mayor returned it to the city council and the city council did not override his veto. So that was an adverse action the last time it was considered, and it puts on it a 2-year bar under the statute. So it cannot move forward now, or it would be in violation of that 2-year bar. Secondly, it was there's a requirement in the statute that that the city council hold its hearing within 65 days of submission to the planning board. Now, there was some confusion as to when it was submitted to the planning board because it seemed to have gone to the zoning board first, who doesn't have a statutory role in approving zoning amendments. But when it did go to the planning board, and the planning board held its hearing within 65 days, but this hearing is untimely under that statute. But more importantly, this would be illegal spot zoning if this amendment were to pass, because there's been no secret at the various public hearings. I've watched the recordings and I've read the records on it, that this is designed to benefit a single property and a single property owner. And that's just not permissible. And it's to benefit the property owner to the detriment of the surrounding districts and abutters. And worse though, is that it would allow car washes as a matter of right, which isn't allowed anywhere in the city of Lawrence. It would take away the planning board's site plan review authority. It would take away the zoning board of appeals special permit review authority. And that's not anywhere in Lawrence. And so it would be this one place where, as the previous speakers noted, there was extensive study and public input, and they advisedly did not allow for car washes and shopping centers in this zone. And they did so for good reason. And so if this went forward, it would be further in contradiction to the public policy and the process that just went forward 2 years ago to create this district. So I strongly urge the councilors to vote not to approve this amendment. And I again, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Racer. The next person whose hand I see up is Mr. Spencer Buckholtz. Mr. Buckholtz, you have the floor.
There, my name is Spencer Buckholtz. I live at 5 Yale Terrace here in Lawrence, and I also had the opportunity to be a part of the planning process for the downtown smart growth overlay district and the planned industrial district. And I just want to second what everyone has said, that it was a very inclusive process, a very thorough process that involved a lot of different a lot of different people's voices and a lot of input. And I would just encourage you not to kind of undo that work, because it did seem to have a lot of there's a lot of thought that went into it. So I would encourage you to vote against this as well.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter? Mr. Vargas, are you with us? Did you want to speak on this matter?
Yeah, and I'll be brief. Well, first, my name is Abel Vargas, 610 Havel Street. So I am speaking against the proposed change to the planned industrial district. And just to add some context, we've spent a lot of time talking about, back when I was working for the city, about guiding principles and how we make decisions now that will position us in a better position, for lack of a better word, going forward. And this document, or this plan, did just that. We don't have a comprehensive master plan, and this urban renewal process and document that was generated provided us with guidance to how we identify development opportunities going forward. To undo that will go against the many people that participated in framing the work that that resulted in this PID. And though we want to encourage continued investment in our city, not all investment is good. Not to suggest that the folks proposing this are ill-mannered or they're looking not to do something good, but I think we should always look towards the best possible use for the limited open land that we have. In my opinion, and that of other folks that have spoken today, the proposed amendment does not allow for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vargas. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this public hearing? I see Ms. Andor's hand is raised. And if you will, in a second, if anybody else wishes to speak, I see Mr. Silverio. Is there, if anybody else wishes to speak, just raise your hand, or maybe not, that'd be helpful. Go ahead, Ms. Andors.
Sure, I'll be brief as well. Jess Andors, 3 Jackson Terrace in Lawrence. And I just also want to echo what everyone else has said. I also had a chance to participate in the urban renewal planning process, which I just thought was one of the best run and most inclusive and thorough planning processes that I've been part of in my 20 plus years in the city of Lawrence. And it really did articulate a vision and an ambition for our city that I think all of us who want the best for the city could agree with. And I know sometimes it can be tempting to respond to an individual development opportunity and think about the short-term gain that we might get. But I think that if we can follow the plan that we laid out, which really did articulate what we thought the highest and best use for that area could be, and the kinds of jobs and industry that we really want and need to see in this city for the well-being of our residents and our economy. And unfortunately, I don't think that this proposed use and zoning change meets that in any way. And so I would just also encourage the councilors to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andors. Next person, hand who I see up is Mr. John Harden. Go ahead, sir.
Actually, Evan Silverio had his hand up as well, but. Okay.
Mr. Silverio, did you wish to speak at this time?
Sure. Thank you, Council President LaPlante and the rest of the City Council. I'm just here to echo everybody else's opinion as well, going against it. And I just wanted to go on record stating, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Silverio. Mr. Harden, back to you.
I'll be brief as well. I oppose the proposed change in zoning for all of the reasons that have been stated, very clearly and articulately. Thank you. 38 Congress Street, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Ms. Leslie Melendez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Leslie Melendez, 42 Gage Street. I as well oppose this amendment, having been part of the Citizen Advisory Board for the Urban Renewal Plan. The process was extensive. The process was very inclusive. And it really gave the city the opportunity to really lay out guidelines on what it looks like and what it should look like in that area. And it was very well attended in terms of resident input and input from developers, input from business owners. It really was an inclusive process. And I too agree with those who have spoken before me that this should not be approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Melendez. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Members, what is your pleasure? I see Mr. Gonzalez's hand up. Mr. Gonzalez, I saw your hand up first, and then I saw Councilor Reyes's hand. Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead.
With all due respect, Mr. President, I can't believe what I heard that we want to change the zoning board that was created 2 years ago for something better for the city, and we tried to change it for something that's not going to make any benefits for us, our beautiful city, that we try to do something better for the city. Thank you.
Councilor, Counselor, I'm looking for a motion at this point. I think Counselor Estela Reyes, that you wish to offer a motion, or is there another member who wishes to offer a motion at this point?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Vice President to approve. Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies for a lack of a second. Is there another motion by any member of the City Council?
Motion to table and send correspondent to the attorney just to help us to look at more into this problem.
So I hear the motion. Could you be more a little more precise in what you're requesting the city? What request we're sending to Mr. Racer, who I think is who you're planning to send this letter to? What is going to be the contents generally of the letter, Ms. Levy?
Just to get more information from our attorneys, the city attorney.
Our city attorney?
Yes.
So what we could do is our city attorney is available to speak this evening on this matter. If you would like, Counselor Levy, we can entertain your motion to table. She requested if I just contact her, she can come in a little bit. If you would like, we can make a motion to table right now. I can contact her. We can do another public hearing, and then we can come back to that. Is that something of interest to you, Counselor Levy?
I would like to, I think so that we can make a motion now.
Second.
Please repeat the motion again, Counselor Levy.
So it's motion to table and send a request to the city attorney just to give more information on this.
There's a motion made by Counselor Levy to table, and in addition to send a letter to our city attorney looking for more information on this matter. It has been properly seconded by Counselor Payano.
So just a friendly amendment, if you may, Council President.
Ms. Levy, are you willing to entertain a discussion? Well, there has to be a discussion, but there seems to be an amendment. Would you be willing to entertain a possible amendment?
Yes.
Counselor Payano, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. That in the request, the city attorney addresses some of the legal concerns that were presented to us tonight, in particular around the 65-day rule.
Counselor Levy, is that part of your motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is the clerk clear on what this motion is? City Clerk? There's a motion made by Counselor Levy to table and to send correspondence as described by Counselor Payano. It has been properly seconded by Counselor Payano. There's no further discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilor De La Cruz,
No.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu, Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Selena Reyes,
You're on mute.
Councilor Gonzalez, Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Chair votes yes. The motion to table passes. This will remain tabled at this point. No action by the City Council this evening. The next item is document number 19320, a new ordinance position for a senior parking attendant. Clerk, please call the public hearing notice.
Thank you, Council President. It says, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lawrence that the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph: 2.64.290, Senior Parking Attendant. Position established as appointment and duties. It is established in the Department of Public Works the position of Senior Parking Attendant to be appointed by the mayor. Under the general supervision of the parking manager, the Senior Parking Attendant shall perform all duties assigned by the parking manager, and in addition thereto shall be responsible for the operation, maintenance, and administrative duties relating to the various city-owned parking lots and garages. Qualifications: the Senior Parking Attendant shall have a high school diploma or equivalent and shall have a minimum of 3 to 5 years working related experience. Subsection C is salary. The salary of the Senior Parking Attendant shall be $36,004.80 per annum, effective on the passage of this ordinance, and so long as union position, it will be subject to any salary changes and benefits contained in the applicable collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you very much, Clerk. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilor the Vice President Estela Reyes, seconded by Councilor Payano. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
I apologize, but I had a little issue with my internet. What is the item?
This is document number 19320, a request for a new ordinance position, Senior Parking Attendant. Public hearing has been made, and now we're calling the roll.
Oh, okay, my vote is yes. And for the item before, my vote is yes too, because I'm engaged the project.
We will come back to you on that one, Councilor. Thank you. Continue with the roll, please.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the chair votes yes. The motion passes. Regarding document number 15120, Councilor Selena Reyes, what is your vote on that item?
The motion is to table for any changes, right?
Motion is to table, and I don't think you were marked for that meeting because of the issues on the Wi-Fi. So what is your vote?
My vote is yes.
Vote to table from Councilor Selena Reyes is yes on document 15120. Council, at this point, I was remiss in asking for the approval of the minutes. So I am looking for a motion to adopt the minutes from January 28th, February 2nd, and February 16th. There's a motion to adopt the minutes from those three meetings.
So move.
Second.
Motion seconded by Councilor Levy. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Alario,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Present.
Councilor Payano,
Present.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, thank you very much, councilors. The next is communications from mayor, city officials, and city attorney. Document 4521, election calendar, election of Veris, brought up by acting city clerk Damaris Ruiz. Clerk Ruiz, the floor is yours.
Yes, this is for the election calendar, and I have Daniel Tabor, Assistant City Clerk, who's going to speak on this.
Assistant Clerk, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President LaPlante. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Tabor. I'm with the Election Division for the City of Lawrence. Tonight, I have a communication from our department regarding the 2021 election calendar for the City of Lawrence. But before I continue, I would like to take a brief moment to thank the former City Clerk, Mr. William Maloney for the 16 years of hard work and service he provided to the city of Lawrence. Thank you. Now, 21 election calendar. Now, Mr. Council President LaPlante, would you like me to go through the whole calendar item by item, or?
What's the alternative? Just kind of going through the highlights. We're going to get a written calendar, are we not? And it is going to be published, is it not?
Correct. Yes.
So I think because all that information is going to be redundant, maybe you can just speak to the highlights rather than going through each individual ones, and so we know when the general election is, when the preliminary is, and perhaps when the nomination papers are available, some of the top highlights, and all of us can read and get that information from you. That's probably in our agenda, and it'll be on the website. So go ahead, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So starting with the nomination papers for all the candidates for the municipal elections this year, it will be available on April 5th. That's a Monday. On Tuesday, August 3rd, will be the last day and hour for municipal office candidates to submit nomination papers to the election division. On Tuesday, August 17th, the city clerk will have to certify the nomination papers by August 17th. On Thursday, August 19th, 2021, will be the last day and hour to submit objections to nomination papers. Wednesday, September 1st, will be the last day to register to vote for the preliminary election. Monday, September 13th, will be the last day to submit campaign finance reports with our office. And on Wednesday, September 15th, will be the last day to submit an absentee ballot application to be mailed out to the voter. Monday, September 20th, will be the last day and hour to request an absentee ballot application to vote here in person in our office. On Tuesday, September 21st, will be the municipal preliminary elections. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Wednesday, October 13th, by 8 p.m. will be the last day and hour to register to vote for the city elections. On Monday, October 25th, will be the last day to submit a campaign finance report for the November election. On Wednesday, September 27th, will be the last day and hour to submit an absentee ballot application to be mailed out to the voter. On November 1st, will be the last day and hour to request an absentee ballot to vote here in person in our office, the City Hall. And on Tuesday, November 2nd, will be the municipal election. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Also would like to mention that the state hasn't placed any dates on if we're gonna have early voting for local elections yet. So that could be amended later on throughout the year. So I'm open for any questions you guys may have.
Thank you very much, Assistant Clerk. Is there any members of the council have got questions regarding the election schedule?
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Mr. President.
You have the floor, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, I just find probably a typo that is probably he have it on he have catch it already. But on November 3rd, it says the last day to request an absentee ballot. I think that you meant the November 1st.
Correct. Yes, that's the day before the election by 12. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, we have it as it there. That's fine.
That it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Payano, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to tell, can't see on my screen now, Mr. Tavor, thank you for all the work that you've been doing these past couple of months. I think it's great seeing that our elections department is, ready to take on this city council, school committee, and mayoral election. So thank you very much. And please give our thanks to everybody in the elections department.
Thank you.
Council President.
Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes, I would like to welcome Daniel. I know he is the person motivated to do a good job. And thank you for taking this position in our city. And don't feel uncomfortable if you had to ask questions, but I think Mr. Maloney laid a lot of experience on you. And thank you for accepting this job and this responsibility.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak on this matter? If Councilor Levy, did you wish to speak?
Yes.
Councilor Levy?
I just only want to thank you, Daniel, and welcome to, for him taking this position. It's very hard. It's a lot of work in there, but I know that you got the experience, and the courage to do it. And I know that you're going to do it very well. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Levy. Mr. Rodriguez, you have one final word you want to add?
Yes, I just have a final word. I know that the state is working on new regulations that eventually this is probably something that is going to come up in front of us. So that might anything that they might approve, like perhaps registration the same day as the election, that might affect, if we get approved, that might affect this calendar. But I mean, I'm assuming that eventually we as a body are going to discuss any possible changes to the calendar if it happens.
That is correct. Yes, we actually last week I had a meeting with the Secretary of State, and they were mentioned those changes that they're still working on them, and they will let us know. And absolutely, yes, I'll let the council know immediately as soon as we have that information.
Thank you.
Okay, if there is nothing else to speak, is there a motion to withdraw this item?
Motion to withdraw.
Second.
Motion made by Vice President, second, I believe by Mr. Gonzalez. Clerk, please call the roll. Councilor De La Cruz, do you wish to say something? I just saw your hand up. Has that been up for a while?
After the
Okay. Clerk,
After the-
please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
yes,
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw carries. Thank you very much, Assistant Clerk DeVore. We appreciate your time this evening, and you got a lot of people wishing you good luck. So with that, I'm sure you'll do a fantastic job there. Thank you.
President.
Ms. De La Cruz, why do you wish to seek the floor?
Yes, I would like to take out item 282-20.
If it's okay with you, Madam De La Cruz, let me just bring document 4121 to the Budget and Finance Committee as a new item. It's going to send there, and we're automatically going to 28220. So 4121 is going to Budget and Finance. And yes, Council De La Cruz, document 28220, an acceptance of grant works infrastructure improvement. The chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, or Vice Chair, I'm not sure who's going to give the report on this. Mr. Vice Chair, who is going to give the report on this? Is that not you? Would it be somebody else?
It is going to be me, Mr. Chair, Mr. President.
Oh, very good.
I regrettably just lost my technology and I'm looking for the hard copy. You wait around 90 minutes all night and it's right there, and then when you need it, it's gone.
Would it be better if we were to table this or move on until you get your stuff together? Would that be helpful? We can move on to the next item.
I would certainly appreciate it.
I mean, if you want, I can give the report very quick. It's a
I,
good report.
Mr. President, I would gladly defer to my colleague, Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, you want to give the report, please? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the Budget and Finance met and discussed item 28220, which is the $1.3 million. The acceptance of the grant, the Mass Work Infrastructure Improvement Program, the $1.3 million. It was put together by or sent it to us by Pedro Soto, the planning director. And at the Budget and Finance Committee, we discussed this item, send it over to the full council as a committee report, pending the language of the restructure of the easement going across Island Street to allow traffic to go through from the points where the city owns Island Street all the way to the Federal Side Park. And that was submitted to the city council and to the city attorney at the end of the process of reviewing it. So with that said, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to present it as a committee report.
There is a motion to send this document up as a committee report. I believe it was seconded by the Vice President, Stella Reyes. Discussion, this is just the committee report. This is not the final vote. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Sorry, I'm here. Councilor Alan Levy,
Yeah.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Selena Reyes,
Continue, please.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Pagano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Stella Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to accept the committee report is adopted or approved. Is there now a motion on the underlying item?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made by the Vice President, Councilor Gonzalez was seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes, at the subcommittee meeting, we discussed this item multiple times. I also have the opportunity to work directly with Lawrence Community Work and then and Pedro Soto, the economic development director of the city of Lawrence. We have a meeting on site to discuss the possibility of adapting this grant. This grant is on my perspective, it's a good amount of money that is going to be dedicated to develop a parking lot on the property that is owned by Lawrence Community Work, and also and the adjacent property that is going to serve the people with a supermarket, and it's going to bring jobs. Lawrence Community Work have 80 apartments that is going to develop there. With under that discussion, there is a portion that I agreed with the project, which is the housing component of the project. That's not in front of us tonight. That's what is in front of us is the $1.3 million that, in conjunction with Lawrence Community Work, the city applied to get that money to provide access to the park. At this point, part of the discussion that we have allowed the design of the project for exclusive parking to own that it's going to that only is going to be used for visitors to the park, the Federal Side Park, which we agree upon. We also, they also did some changes on the entrance that is going to smooth the transition of visitors coming on Island Street and be able to continue going on the traffic flow to the park that is on the end of Island Street. And also they dedicate the entrance of the project only with a sign that is going to direct people to the park. Those were the agreement that we have. I was asking for more. Obviously, there is $1.3 million that allow the city to have access to the park, a better access to the park. That was accomplished partially. And I just want to be blunt and honest with every one of you. I'm agreeing with the project of the 80 apartments that is going to be there, but I'm not agreeing with the access to the park that we accomplished. And with that said, Mr. President, I'm still at this point debating the possibility of approving this $1.3 million since this is not enough to actually guide people and not create a confusion, since they're going to have to go through a parking lot that is privately owned. I'm scared that people, when they get to that point, that people that are going to the park, when they get to that point, turn around and go back because they don't believe that there is a park at the end of the road. It was a great discussion, very, very, very detailed discussion. The easement is going to be modified as part of the agreement as well. And there were good points that were accomplished. To be fair to the process, I'm being hopeful to actually bring this up to the full council and not denying the possibility of approving it and allowing the rest of the council to discuss it if they wish to approve it. And I wasn't going to be holding it up at the committee level. But it was great discussions and some accomplishments for the fairness of the process, I need to say. With that said, Mr. President, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to discuss it.
You're welcome. In this order, I see the Vice President and then I see Mr. Payano. So in that order, Vice President Reyes.
Thank you, Councilor President. First of all, I just want to thank Councilor Rodriguez for always looking out for the benefit for not only for the city, but also for our citizens. Based on the conversation that I have with some of the members of Lawrence Community Work, what they are proposing is that we have no parking space and they are assignating 4 spaces for us. I'm sure that Councilor Rodriguez was aware of that. And also they are willing just to kind of work in the easement that they can be direct the traffic going to the park. So I think as a member of this item that can give more update about what Councilor Rodriguez I'm requesting, which is something that really makes sense, but based, like I had mentioned it, they basically are giving everything that he's requesting. So is anyone that can answer that question now?
So the Vice President is asking if there's anybody in the audience, perhaps with a project proponent, who can speak to her question.
I'm sorry, Councilor Reyes, could you clarify what the question is? Is the question whether we were able to meet all of Councilor Rodriguez's suggestions, or, yeah, okay.
Yes.
So we have several people here who can speak to that, but I believe that we have met everything that Councilor Rodriguez has desired and suggested, with the exception of one request, which was that, and Councilor Rodriguez, please do correct me if I'm wrong here, but the request was to move parking from the north side of Island Street to the south side of Island Street. And that request, unfortunately, would present enormous financial and redesign obstacles to us that would jeopardize the project and also force us to give up other desirable things that do increase access and visibility to the park, and including the widening of the Spigot River Greenway path and other pieces of the design elements that we've specifically included in order to increase access and visibility, which as we did explain at the Budget and Finance Committee level, and as I know the councilors appreciate, has been a core part of our vision for this project from the beginning, and something that we've worked closely with the planning department and with Groundwork Lawrence on as well. The project manager, Spencer Buckholtz, is here, and I believe he could also speak to that, as could the planning director. And we have our consultant from TEC that could, Rick Freiberg, who could also speak to that if you would like. We'd be glad to have them share.
Vice President, are you looking for more information, or is that enough information for you at this time?
I think they all gonna be speaking, and we're gonna be relating the same item. So just give an opportunity to the other councilor. They might gonna be having another question related to the one that I'm asking, and they can give all the details.
So are you requesting more information from the proponents, or you want to go to the next city councilor, Vice President?
The next city council.
Thank you very much. The next councilor is Councilor Payano, followed by Councilor De La Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. So yeah, I want to commend Councilor Rodriguez for all the work that he did, and the folks at LCW for meeting with all of us, and for engaging in a discussion that I think we came to a pretty good compromise. I think it's important to note that when this project was first brought up to the Budget Committee, I think all of the members of the Budget Committee that were present at that time were concerned that we were going to be voting on a grant for parking for, essentially in the heading, it mentioned the park, yet it wasn't clearly defined that there'd be parking for individuals that wanted to use the park. So I think that, for the last couple of weeks, the conversations that they had, they've been able to essentially ensure that there's going to be 4 spots. We have the members of the LCW right now, and I fully trust that they will ensure that these 4 parking spots, that it's clearly designated, that it's for people that want to use the park, and that they will, help us, figure out a way to ensure enforcement on that. I think that, in government, trust is important. And I saw trust working these last couple of weeks because, engaging in those conversations, going, on site and figuring out a way to find common ground is not always easy. And I think that was done in this case. And, I'm proud of the work that, that everybody has done. And I think that's, good government at work. So I'll be voting in favor of this project.
Thank you very much, Councilor Payano. Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes, Council President. I would like to say that thank you to Lawrence Community Works for thinking about the people in the community. I have visited a lot of the housing projects that they've been making in the community. Seeing people to live a decent life, a clean life, being in a neighborhood where people care about their neighbors next door, people care about the property next door, that is very important. Then I trust Lawrence Community Works, and I know they're gonna do the best. I hope this time they take people from the shelters, because we have a lot of people in shelters in the city. that sometimes they don't hear about the way that they raffle the houses. But seeing the project, making that area so beautiful. I remember when I came to the city, it was Island Street, but it was no apartment around there. It was no people around there. Now we have a place that you can even walk around there. It's so beautiful to have people living in so beautiful houses where the cleanness of the places is so beautiful. Then I will always vote for Lawrence Community Work because they serving the people of Lawrence. Sometimes I'm asking too much because I just want the people in the raffle to be from Lawrence. But that is because we have people living in very bad conditions, 2 and 3 families living together in the city, and creating those kind of beautiful apartments. People are getting to live in places that you cannot even imagine. Having just a parking space, having an apartment that is clean, an apartment that is new, it is such a beautiful experience. And I can continue talking the whole night about that. Keep up the good job, and thank you I ask my colleagues to please vote for this project because we need housing in this city. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Councilor De La Cruz. Are there any other councilors who wish to speak on this item?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilor Levy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. At the discussion that we had at the budget and finance committee was like it's the way for people that are coming just like from the north through what is the name of the street?
Marston Street.
The Marston Street. So there is no visibility. I don't know if maybe we can do something like that. Is one of the things that I asked at the budget and finance committee, that the people will know that there is a park right in there. So that was one of my major concerns in there it's not being shown. So I know that we want to put some sign on the front so when they coming through the other side and the entry and to go to the park. So I think so, and maybe I don't know if that's going to cost. We said that we're going to just look in the way through the bridge that is right there and see. I know that this is something different that we have maybe to get some other ground or some other way, but at least to make sure that we put some kind of sign to let the people know that when they coming from Marston Street to that place, that they will know that this is like a park. Right now we are not talking about the project. It's beautiful, the project, and I'm just waiting to see how we're gonna look like. All those houses right in there. That's when you come in either from Marston, from Canal, from Prosper and everything. I know that this is gonna be like a great impact, for people to see those buildings that you're gonna build right in there. But I would like to see more site for the people who's gonna use the park, because that is what we are talking really right now. The entry, that's the paving and how it's going to be managed, the parking and all those kind of stuff. But for the other way, it's going to be a beautiful project.
Thank you very much, Ms. Levy. Are there any other councilors who wish to speak on this matter? I believe that one of our partners in government, the chair of the planning board, and I like to give deference to other partners in government as well. Ms. Kotelchuk, you wish to speak on this because your board reviewed this as well. So I think that's even though this is not a public hearing, I think it makes perfect sense to have a fellow board give kind of a report. So go, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, very considerate. I just wanted to add that the planning board supports the project and voted unanimously in favor of it, both for the quality of design of the housing and adding open space and recreational space for Lawrence residents, as well as commercial jobs and amenities. I think the planning board all felt that it was adding a lot to that part of the city, the design as proposed. So we are supportive. Thank you, President LaPlante.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. Again, one last call for any other counselors who wish to comment on this. Hearing none. This is, I don't plan on doing this very often, but tonight I will be passing over the gavel to the Vice President. So I'm able to make some opinions and comments on this matter, because I believe it to be, I believe I would like to make some comments. So Madam Vice President, will you please share at this point?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Vice President, you know, these are one, council, we have talked about housing growth a lot. The new information has come to us in this particular packet that we received today. And there is a linkage, Madam Chair, between the infrastructure improvement of the $1.3 million. There's linkage between that and the housing project that's going to bring an additional 80 units into our city. And there's linkage between that and the need for more school space that we're going to be finding in our city. There is a linkage throughout, and none of these items are in a silo, and they all have what I call ripple effects. And those are important that before we take a vote on it this evening, I wanted to make sure that this view was at least considered, and then it's going to go however it's going to go. But it's important, councilors, Madam Chair, that this be at least be considered. We're talking about, because of this project, an additional 80 units. I don't think this project goes off without this money to leverage it, or if it doesn't, it's not going to take place. There's going to need to be other steps that need to take place. But to continue to create more housing in our city, while we are also trying to consider what we're doing with respect to the schools, never mind the congestion and the parking and all the other issues that come up when we add more and more and more housing. As we're going through a housing boom, unlike I think many other places, perhaps Boston can parallel us, but when we're talking about 2,000 new units in a matter of a short few years, that's a lot with more in the pipeline. This is a lot. The news I wanted to bring to you, Madam Chair, is, you know, the CALFO, Mr. Ryanello, in part of his packet that is at the end of this agenda, talks about what happens when we don't have enough space, when we have to build new schools, and we're going to be talking about bonding. He's talking about increasing our taxes, and it's in black and white now. He's asking us to go into either into the tax levy that we've been able to save money over the $5 or $6 million, or go to free cash. Either way, we've been really reliant on that. And when we've had what I would consider to be unsmart growth over the past several years, that's forcing us now to look at things like potentially raising our taxes for our residents because we have not managed our growth quite very well. We need to consider that. I doubt we're probably going to be voting for it and support this evening. And I understand why. I understand why we would do that. And I understand this whole thing, but what I don't want, Madam Chair, is to leave us with the impression that these things are not interrelated, that this vote tonight does have an impact on another vote we're going to be taking that's going to be worth $132 million. And that's a bond authorization, Madam Chair, that initially by the Collins Center had us pegged at 45 million and is now at $132 million. Madam Chair, that's a lot of money that we're going to have to raise $75 million that we didn't consider doing because of our housing growth. And so as we go through this, Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that I'm a voice. I like LCW, it has nothing to do with them. I think the work that they do is splendid. I think that they add a lot and they're an important organization in our city. And if it was a different time where we had a housing and we had the kind of infrastructure and then we needed some housing, they'd be a fantastic organization to help create and build housing that we need. But right now, if we're doing this in a silo, Madam Chair, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be tough down the road. So let's just know what we're doing tonight. If we're going to be voting in favor of it, and it seems like we are, just know we're going to have a real tough vote coming up down the road a piece. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do appreciate your time. And unlike, we're doing something different, members of the council. When the president releases the gavel, he does not get the gavel back. That is by our rules. So I am not going to be able to. The vice chair now has has the authority and to rule the meeting for the rest of this question. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President. I think your word is being well taken. Anyone, any other council that might to speak before we call the question? Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes, Council President, Vice Chair. I would like to say that no matter what we do, children are continuing to be born. We need both. We need the school system, we need the school places, and we are so glad that now we have in the Leahy and the Oliver School that are going to be expanded. Of course, Lawrence Community Board need to work together with those two school systems, with those two school locations for the location that those buildings are going to be built. But believe it or not, 10 years ago, I didn't have 4 grandkids. Now I have 4. Children are going to continue to be born, and we have to allocate them in schools, and we have to facilitate. I'm so happy that all of these plans are happening in the city of Lawrence. The 2 schools being rebuilt and more housing for the people in the city. People are not moving out of Lawrence for many reasons. We are a family here. We are together. We understand each other. People are not moving out anymore. People are going to stay here. But I don't want to see kids living with families, second families, like uncles, grandmothers, grandparents. We want kids to be living in their own apartment where they could feel comfortable, as well that they have a school where they can go, a school where they can walk around. I'm so happy that all of these projects are happening in our city. Then what we need to do is to continue to work together. Of course, the taxes are going to be increased, and we have to have that in our mind. Every year, all the cities, they increase the housing taxes. What's happening in Lawrence, that is not happening. Of course, we're trying not to increase the taxes because we are a poor community. But at the same time, we cannot be stuck. We have to keep moving along. We have to be constructing these schools, and we have to continue to construct more places for our people to live more decent, to live more clean, and to be in places where they can have a more healthy family. Then, I can continue to talk more and more, but we need the housing and we need the schools. Then in both, we have to put money in as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. I think at this point, what we have to know about this is that we're not relating or throwing on top of Lawrence Community Work that they are responsible to create more school. I think Councilor President was very clear, but we as a city, as an elected official, we need to work with a plan. This is not something about Lawrence Community Work. This is not about anyone who's going to be applying for housing. I think the needs of the housing is there. So we all know that we need more housing, but we also know that we can't forget about it, that we need a school capacity. So we have to, and I encourage every single one of you that we can come out with some sort of idea just to work for school. If it's not any other councilor that wish to speak at this time, I'm looking for a motion.
I want to say something, Madam Chair.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Like Mr. LaPlante said, that I've been here in the community all my life, and I work for the school as school committee person. I know how hard the school is so crowded. When we built a new high school, because the old Lawrence High was so crowded, because a lot of people coming to Lawrence, because we are a wonderful city. Well, we need to make a plan. I'm not against the Lawrence community work, but we cannot keep building and building houses. What about education? What about the money? We don't have the money. They had to raise the taxes. It's no matter what. We're building a new school. They need to raise the taxes. What the owners do? They raise the rent, everything. I'm sorry, we need to come out to the plan. We need to work in that, not just build and build and build. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. So the motion,
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Councilor-
Madam Vice President.
Councilor Payano.
Thank you. Just first, real quick, I think it's important to understand that I'm usually an individual that's always talking about the importance of connecting with our public school system, especially when it comes to, when we're building new housing complexes. I would say that over the past 10 years, I don't think that there's been a very good strategy in doing that connecting piece. In the last year, 2 years, there's been momentum and movement on upgrading some of our schools on the north side that I think, will lead to addressing some of these concerns, particularly in that area. One of the reasons that usually, I'm probably one of the counselors that mentions how housing would affect education, but I think and I'll be frank, I think the executive director's Jessica Andrews' leadership and the work that she's done within Lawrence Public Schools makes me trust that when Lawrence Public Schools was coming, basically when we were creating our decisions as to what schools would be renewed, that they were understanding that there was going to be growth within that area. I think, overall, I hope, right? Because at the end of the day, we talked a little bit earlier about, developing, trust between the different governmental entities. I hope that those that are, essentially guiding us when it comes to education policy are taken into account, not current numbers, but numbers estimated numbers over the course of 3 or 4 years, especially in this particular area, because we're going to see growth. 80 is movement on that. It's moving, the needle as far as how many potential students could be going in that area. But 80 is not my concern. My concern is that we're going to see hundreds more in that area. So I hope that these, the Oliver and some of the other schools that we're thinking of doing, that we move on that faster. I know that this is about 5 or 6 years ago, the old superintendent, who's now the commissioner, one of the things he was talking about was that Lawrence needed, he said in the next 5 years, we need 3 new schools. It's been past 5 years and we still haven't, built up one. So it's definitely a concern, but it doesn't, I don't think it affects my vote on this. So I'd like to make a motion, Madam Vice President, that we approve this item.
Motion has been made, properly second.
Second.
It has been seconded by Councilor Gonzalez.
La Cruz, Councilor de la Cruz.
Roll call, please.
Discussion? No discussion.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor de la Cruz, Councilor Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
No.
So can you tell me the numbers?
Counselor?
I have 7 yes, 1 no, and 1 present.
Thank you.
That doesn't sound right.
I know, I
Yeah,
challenge.
I don't think so. Yeah.
6-1. Celine wasn't able to vote.
Yes. So it's 6, yes, 1 was absent, 1 was present, and 1 was no, right? Yes.
Yes.
So we have 6.
I think
Motion.
so that were 2 present.
Huh?
I think so that ones that were 2 present.
Only one person
No, it was only 1.
was me.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. The vote passes. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate your assistance.
Thank you.
That's right. The next document is document 3521. Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, please give the report on that document.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Councilor Plant.
Mr. Soto?
If I could I just make a quick comment? Through you.
This motion is passed, it's gone through. If it's quick, go right ahead. I don't want to make a custom of this, but go ahead.
No, just on the record, I apologize. I just wanted, I just wanted to thank Councilor Rodriguez, Payano, and Levy. I know that we've had a lot of spirited discussion over the past couple of weeks just to make sure that we got this right, the changes in design. I also want to thank my colleagues over at LCW, Spencer, Jess Andor, and John, as well as Brad Busher at Groundwork Lawrence and Rick over at TC. I think we worked really, really hard to make sure that all the visuals were there, to make sure that the councilors had the information that they needed to make a proper decision tonight. So I appreciate everybody's feedback and look forward to working with all of you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman of the Budget Committee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my apologies earlier for not having the technology ready, and my thanks to Mr. Rodriguez for the assist. On the 24th of February, the Budget and Finance Council voted by unanimous vote to recommend to the full council a favorable recommendation. Item number 3521, the request to expend grant funds, critical services to address COVID-19 services in the amount of $345,665 presented and submitted by Mike Armano, Director of Inspectional Services. And I submit that to you in the form of a motion.
There's a motion made and seconded by Councilor Estella, Vice President Estella Reyes. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion passes. Ordinance Committee reports document 23319, parking on 144 South Union Street. Chairwoman of the Ordinance Committee and Vice President Estella Reyes.
Thank you, Councilor President. Document 233-19, it came out with favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Discussion? And we're done. I'll call, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Next document is document 21720. Madam Chairman of the Ordinance Committee.
It's a one-way traffic Weir Street from Covet Road to Stevens Street. It came out with a favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion.
So move.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor De La Cruz. Discussion? Councilor Abdu?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure where to direct the question, and I did not attend. I'll begin by saying I did not attend that ordinance meeting. Curious as to, actually, it was submitted by you, Mr. Vice President. Why was any consideration given to the entire length of Ware Street? I totally understand the necessity for those listening and those present tonight. It is within a stone's throw. Literally, it actually abuts my district. So many folks use that. And so was there any thought given to the entire length of Ware Street?
So the answer is yes. That request came from a constituent wanting that just for your information, and we can certainly talk about that as the public hearing. There were competing, if you will, reports that are in the packet, one from the engineering and one from the police department. I am going to consider just letting you know that I may be amending this based on the report's recommendations. And they did look at the entire street, and there may be other elements that could be added. So, so I look forward to your discussions at the full council when the public hearing, and maybe there's an opportunity there for you to amend to make that make a little more sense.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions on ordering public hearing? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Salina Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion passes over the order of public hearing. The next document is document 16B21. Vice President and Chair of the Ordinance Committee, Estela Reyes.
It says here, you local 3 inspector unit collective bargaining, hail safety and hail safety. It came out with a favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Motion made and seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. I believe the discussion by Mr. Payano.
Thank you, Council President. No, I'm just, I'm looking for the actual ordinance on that. So I think that if I remember the conversation correctly at the budget, this was an item that was merged. So it was like one motion and there were 2 items. It was sent to the Budget Committee. Budget Committee split it in 2, and they said sent the ordinance part to the Ordinance Committee. In the packet that we received, we didn't see, at least I wasn't able to see the actual language for the ordinance. So I was wondering if a little bit could be talked about that.
Thank you, Councilor Payano. I can definitely ask our secretary to forward the language. I don't have it in my package present at me with now, but I can make that happen. We can continue moving forward and order public hearing. If there's anything, we can stop right there.
Okay, great. Madam Vice President, the ordinance where the city attorney has already seen the ordinance and approved them?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
thank you, Madam Vice President.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll for a public hearing.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salina Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion to order public hearing carries. The next document is 3621. Madam Chair and Vice President.
Thank you. National Grid petition covering the installation of underground facility at 136-140 Exit Street, intersection of Mill Street. It had come out with favor recommendation to order a public hearing, and I make that as a formal motion.
So move.
Motion made and seconded by Counselor De La Cruz. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Motion carries to order a public hearing.
Council President, Council President, I'd like to take item 125-20 out of order.
There is a motion to take document number 12520 out of order. It's been seconded by the Vice President.
What was that item?
125.
12520 is a petition to rename Columbus Day. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Take it out of order. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll. Let's take it out of order.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes. What is the motion?
So, the motion is a petition to rename Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, and I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Duncan.
Motion made by Mr. Payano, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. What exactly is the motion? Is it a resolution? I'm going to remind the city councilors that there are in our ordinances, no recorded, no listed, none holidays that are in our ordinances. Are you looking to just simply to draft a resolution?
Council President, I believe that the item 125-20, there's language around that. Is there not?
There is language with question marks associated to it because there's no controlling language in the ordinance books that is looking to repeal.
So I think, what would benefit this committee is if you have the language in front of you, are you able to read it?
We'll ask the clerk to read it because I could read it, but I think the clerk, you have the opportunity to read it. If not, I can.
Great.
Clerk?
One moment.
Council President,
Yes, clerk.
I have the folder. I apologize. I just, it was taken out of order. It was not right in front of me.
I believe that Mr. Payano is looking for the section that attempts to codify an ordinance.
So there's a section stated, but it doesn't, as you note, to give reference to anything. And it just says, section 1 recites the above are hereby incorporated by reference. So there'll be all the whereases, which then it's a section 2 citing to a chapter unstated of the municipal code is hereby amended by adding the language underscored below. And then it's in the second Monday in October, the city of Lawrence shall celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day to commemorate and promote public awareness of the diversity, accomplishments, and contributions of the Indigenous peoples. Then section 3, this ordinance shall be effective upon its passage and approval. It does not cite to a specific section of the ordinances that it would be amending.
So is there, through you, Council President, is there an enactment within that motion?
When you say enactment, I'm not positive what you mean, and I apologize.
So I think the council president is looking for particular, if this motion is calling for a resolution, so an opinion of the council, or if it's calling for the city to take action.
So the document was submitted by the personnel director, so I don't know his exact intentions. He does entitle the document ordinance, which would imply he was looking to have an ordinance adopted, but then he lays it out in the format that you would normally lay out a resolution with the, whereas the indigenous people have lived in the land across the Western Hemisphere, and a series of whereases outlining their accomplishments and why Columbus Day is not appropriate and why Indigenous Peoples Day is more appropriate. So in that sense, it is laid out like a resolution, but that it is entitled ordinance. So it's unclear what his actual intention is. And then he does draft language that looks similar to an ordinance language with this, on the second Monday in October. But again, it does not reference to a specific ordinance, and we don't have holidays outlined in our ordinances. So it's not to say we couldn't do that, but we have not done that in the past. So it just to clarify from the city attorney where exactly you would want that, doesn't seem unreasonable. Just would be new and different versus a resolution would be easier, but it sounds like you might want a longer term impact. And I'm not clear what you want, but also trying to interpret what the personnel director was requesting is difficult also.
So again, we're not sure what I do have a number of people who wish to speak. So, but you have the floor still, Mr. Payano. What is it that you're looking for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to hold, I do have a comment to say, but I know that there's other people that were raising their hands. So I'm going to give my time back to the floor.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So I said motion to approve.
Motion to approve, and it was unclear what the motion is at this point, but I guess there's a motion, so we will go with that. We'll muddle through this a little bit because we don't sure what the motion, if it's a resolution or an ordinance. I do have 3 people who wish to speak, and the hands that I saw them in this order: Vice President, Councilor De La Cruz, and then Councilor Rodriguez. That's the order that I saw them. Vice President.
Thank you, Councilor President. Councilor Payano. This is going to be more to you if you accept that just to table the item, and I'm going to give you my reason why. When this item was presented to the Ordinance Committee, we send the request in the presence of the personnel director to be at the City Council level. I have no intention to move one or the other side. It's just more to have clarification, because that was the first question was arise. It was a resolution for what we were looking for. So if you don't mind, this is not determine which way we need to go, just to table and ask personnel director to be present to our next City Council meeting.
Through you, Council President, Madam Vice President, I know that there are other people that wanted to raise their hand. So I definitely want to hear them out before I present that motion.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the next person is Councilor De La Cruz and then Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I think that we need to hear the feelings of the person that brought the idea in. I believe in what he's asking for, but at the same time, I wanted to hear more information from that person that we can make the changes that we would like to see in this city. Then let's send a letter of invitation for him to come to talk to us. And then I will agree to make a vote after we get an explanation. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, a couple of things to clarify here. Fran Bonet submit this item not as a personal director of the city of Lawrence. He sent that on his personal email as a resident of the city of Lawrence. That's his concern as a person living in the city that would like to see those changes happening in the city. And what he's asking for is to change the Columbus Day to, instead of calling it Columbus Day, to be called a more proper name, which is as he's proposing, the Indigenous Day, the Indigenous Day, National Day. So that position was taken already by the school board representing the school of the city of Lawrence. And when it comes to the students, they're not gonna call it Columbus Day anymore. The students from Lawrence, they rename it. And what we need to do, or what he's asking us to do, is an ordinance, because as we know, resolution is just an opinion of the city council. It is no measurements. It's just an opinion. What we need to do, if we are serious about this change, is to do it properly through an ordinance that is going to affect, and it's going to be only regarding the city of Lawrence, our own law. If we need to move forward with that, the proper process is to order a public hearing. And at that moment, people are going to show up that are in favor of it and against it, including the person that proposed it, which is Fran Bonet, not the personal director of the city of Lawrence. No, he sent an email through his personal email to us, and he proposed it to us through with his name, not his title. So it is important to differentiate those two. So what we need to do to move forward is to order a public hearing on this, as is an ordinance, as he actually stated on his own language, on his own title. And on the last paragraph, it says, the abolishment of the Columbus Day promote more equality and inclusive for the city of Lawrence. And then he go furthermore, this ordinance should be effective upon passage and approved. So he is referring to an ordinance, even though he probably worded in a different way. An ordinance could be read or proposed in a way that probably it's just a paragraph. What we need to do, order a public hearing, send it over to the city attorney to do the proper modification. We hold on the public hearing until they get sent back with the same language that we agree. It got sent back to the city clerk for publication, and then open the opportunity to people to discuss this at this level. He's not looking for a resolution. He never mentioned a resolution, even though he wrote it, as we commonly see a resolution being read. But it's not a resolution. If he said clearly, it's an ordinance. The city sent Fran Bonet, send this out. I agree with this ordinance. And with that said, I would like to make a motion to order a public hearing pending the language after being sent to the city attorney. I would like to make that a motion.
Second. Mr. Payano, it's your actual motion that's controlling at this point. So are you going to adopt this amendment?
So
no, it's not an amendment. Excuse me. It's not an amendment. It's a motion individual motion on top of his motion. It's not an amendment.
Well, right now, just so we're clear, Mr. Payano made a motion to approve. That was his motion, and it was seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. So there is a motion on the floor. It's up to it's up to now the author of the motion as to how he wants to deal with this recommendation. I'm going to have to consider an amendment, because it could be a friendly amendment. You can just accept it, or we can take a vote on the amendment.
No. Mr. President, through you, if I have another motion, just as you consider the motion to table, it's another motion on top of the previous motion. This is happened. The one that is proceeding, if I get a second, is the one that I put on. That's the parliamentary procedures.
Are you making a motion to table, which would be an order, which would be a motion that's privileged? Are you making a motion to table?
No, I'm not. Don't confuse things here. I'm making a motion to order a public hearing pending the proper language.
If you'll give me a moment.
So, gentlemen, I'm lost here. Councilor Rodriguez, I will take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay, no problem.
So I will take that as a friendly amendment. I will say that I think I was going to move to table, but I think it does make more sense because this is what this city resident proposed, right? So I think that it's up. We've held it for several months. I think we should order a public hearing. And then, once the public hearing is done, if there are changes that we would like to do, we could do it. I will say that I would like to see this as an enactment. While the city does not have power over federal holidays, we do have power over the vocabulary that we use. So just as the Lawrence Public Schools has already voted on ensuring that when they talk about Indigenous Peoples Day, they name it as Indigenous People Day, and they don't talk about necessarily about Columbus Day. And there's language around that because it's not they don't talk about Columbus. It's not that they don't say that Columbus, came from Spain. But what they say is that there were people already living here, and I think it provides a more nuanced version of history. So I think. Acknowledging that I think is super important. So I will take that as a friendly amendment.
Understood. So just so we're all clear, and I think we've brought a little more clarity to this, there is actually a motion before us now that is ordering a public hearing to create an ordinance, as I understand it, to abolish Columbus Day. Is that correct? And to reinsert it as Indigenous Peoples Day. Am I echoing correctly or am I incorrect?
So I would say no. I would say incorrect because it's not. Abolish Columbus Day. I think there's some negative connotations to that. So I would say that there is a motion to send this motion that is very, very in depth as to the why, to send that to a public hearing, and it is to rename Columbus Day to Indigenous People Day.
Okay, I think I understand the motion, and I hope the rest of the committee or the council understands the motion. Just a couple of facts, and I can't make an opinion. Talk to the city attorney about this. There is no other community in the Commonwealth that has adopted an ordinance for this. We'd be the first to do this. Other communities have offered resolutions, whether they be Brookline, Somerville, Northampton, Amherst, Cambridge. Those have been resolutions. So that's a piece of fact that we should just be acknowledging. We're doing something different here if we go forward with this. Two, we certainly can do what we want with Indigenous Peoples Day. I think again, the question about an ordinance, it would be something unique in our ordinances. We have no current holidays listed there. Keep in mind that our union contracts also specifically relate to Columbus Day as that. So just be aware of that as we make this vote. And the other thing that I want to make sure that we're aware of before we cast a vote on this is that if this is simply renaming a state law, the question is do we have the authority to rename at a city council level a state law, which I don't have an answer to. That's a question. So if the council feels comfortable with all of those things, certainly we can have a vote on it right now. If not, then you can vote accordingly. So if there's no other discussion on this matter, is there any other discussion?
Just real question.
Yes,
so
sir.
The vote is not on the item. The vote is to send this to a public hearing.
Public
Is that
hearing.
correct?
So correct. The vote is on to order a public hearing to create an ordinance. Am I right?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
yes. That's
I have a
what
question.
it's asking.
Okay.
I have a question.
I'll get to you in a second. So that's the motion. I think we're clear on it. Councilor Levy.
Okay, so what we are expecting or what we are thinking to do after the public hearing? What is going to be the next step?
So
Approving the ordinance.
Councilor Payano, I believe we'll
Yeah.
have some language, which we don't have quite yet, that needs to be written up or it has to be sent to the city attorney, but we'll have to have that,
So-
right?
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Levy, great question. So what I would say, like all of the motions that are presented that come from the ordinance committee and that we vote to send to a public hearing, at that point, there's an opportunity for individuals that are for, against, have ideas on, want to offer changes to the city council. They're able to do that, and it also gives us the opportunity to make amendments. So I can't say what type of amendments other councilors would say, but I think that would be the best times for us to argue the pros and cons and for us to present amendments to this motion. And it will also give an opportunity for the resident that presented this to come in front of the council and present their case, which I think is important because, this resident presented this item, which they have the right to do as a resident. And I think it's whether we agree or disagree with a certain item, we have to give residents the opportunity to take part in government.
So this question is to Councilor Estela Reyes.
Yeah.
Council Vice President Estela Reyes. So that item was sent to the Ordinance Committee?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Levy. Just have, as I explained to Councilor Payano, which is no stopping us just to order public hearing, just to be clear, because I don't want anyone to jump on top of what I'm saying. So what I saying is that we still can order public hearing requesting that Mr. Bonet being present, because when that item has been sent out from the committee, we request his presence. So that's it, like any other items that we have in front of us, that many occasions we had ordered a public hearing. So that doesn't stop us to make any movements. Just like Councilor Payano was saying, whenever we receive the public hearing back, so we can make a decision whether to be in favor or whether not to be voting on.
Thank you. So at that public hearing, so we are requesting also the presence of the
Mr.
Bonet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Any further discussion on this matter to order a public hearing on an ordinance? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
No.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
No.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
No. 6-3, is that the call? In favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to order a public hearing. Back to your other document, which is document number withdrawals.
Council President, can you take all of that as all together as a block? Document 246, 283, 284, 285.
Sure. There's a motion to take document 246-19, 283-19, 284-19, and 285-19 as a block. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion made and seconded. Counselor, would you also include as part of your motion, a motion to withdraw all those items?
Yes, Council.
So the motion is in block and withdraw. It has been properly second. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw passes. Under old business,
What was the count on the vote?
unanimous.
10
I
to
know what
0.
you're saying, Counselor. There was one dog barking. We're
10
not
0.
counting- No, we're not counting the dog. 9-0. The next one is under old business, document 8120, no parking on William Street. Counselor Dela Cruz, did you wish to keep that there? Did you wish to withdraw? Were you able to make some?
No, I want to keep it there because I need to have a conversation with Officer Cano. And because I couldn't speak to him today, I will leave it over there.
Very good. So let's do this. Is there a motion to table document 8120?
Motion to table.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor President LaPlante.
Yes. Motion table. The next item is document 13820, designation of June 19th as Juneteenth, annually as a city observed holiday, put on city council agenda by former mayor Dan Rivera. Is there a motion? This is a resolution. Is there a motion?
To approve.
Approve the resolution, correct.
Second.
Motion made by, I believe, Councilor Dela Cruz, seconded by the Vice President. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. Are there any table matters that councilors wish to take off the table? I am going to recommend that we take off the table document number 2121, appropriation transfer from free cash to the COVID account for $500,000. Is there a motion to take that off the table?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by the Vice President. Just to take it off the table, all in favor, say aye. Roll call, please. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. Having a flashback. Roll call, please.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion for document 2121?
Motion, so hold on a second.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Dela Cruz, seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yeah.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President LaPlante.
The president votes yes and wants to thank Economic Development Director Encarnacion for her work on this issue and trying to perfect it through the course of various meetings. So thank you very much, and we'll Hopefully that will be helpful to some of our small businesses who are falling between the gaps. So thank you very much. Is there any other issues on table matters that the council wishes to take off the table? Hearing none, we're going to move on to new business. New business, document 3721, parking 15 minutes in front of 135 South Broadway, put on by Councilor Levy, Ordinance Committee. 3821, parking 20 minutes, 134, 140 West Street, West Side, Councilor Gonzalez, Ordinance. Document number 3921, parking 30 minutes, Hubbard Place off of West Street, Councilor Gonzalez, Ordinance. Document 4021, an ordinance to require the naming of any city-owned public way or public property must be approved by a resolution by the City Council, put on by me. That's going before the Ordinance Committee. Document 4221, approval of funding for the Oliver Partnership School, $132,300,000, put on the City Council agenda by Superintendent Cynthia Paris, is going before the Budget and Finance Committee. I will just let the Budget and Finance Committee know there is a hard deadline for approval of this of May the 12th. So we have some time, but there is a hard deadline on that. So we need to move on that. Next document is 4321, home rule petition, illegal nightclubs penalty increase, put on by Mayor Kendris Vasquez, Ordinance Committee. And lastly, appointment of Adelso Mendez as an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals that was put on the council agenda with the clock starting ticking as of February 26th of this year, put on by Mayor Kendris Vasquez. That's going to the Personnel Committee. Let's go through the list of items before committee assignments. So Personnel, start with you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wish to take the liberty to just make a quick statement about the review committee for the city clerk. The Personnel Committee, I want to thank my colleagues, Councilors Reyes, Gonzalez, and Dela Cruz, who have sacrificed quite a bit of time in working with Director Bonet and personnel to cull through, I believe it's over 250 resumes and applications for the position of city clerk in the city of Lawrence. We all have received an email with the progress made, and I wanted to personally thank them for that. Reason I said all that before I get to what is usually an easy scheduling thing is that to set the table for what I'm about ready to say. I have proposed, and I know one of the dates I saw the city, the assistant to the city council sent out a calendar invite. So apparently one of the dates she's heard feedback. She's already sent out a posting for tomorrow evening. The Personnel Committee will meet tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. And that will be to exclusively deal with the city clerk in the selection process and setting the ground rules for, if you will, for the committee to talk about what is the second round of interviews, which will occur next week. I have proposed Monday, March 8th for a personnel committee to the committee. If we have folks here this evening on the committee that can commit to it, we can say for sure Monday the 8th. And I'm seeing nodding heads. So, Mr. President, I would suggest to you that we will meet tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. and we will meet again on Monday the 8th. On the 8th, I would propose, Mr. President, that we can take up a new item this evening, item 4421, and then we will immediately move to interviews of a batch of finalists as requested by this city council. And then I would propose a final meeting next week, a second personnel committee meeting next week, third overall after this meeting, for next Wednesday evening, the 10th. That would be the proposed time that, and I would suggest it could be after budget and finance. That would be the proposed time that we would make a selection of those interviewed, or selections of those interviewed on Monday to recommend to this council for the following Tuesday. So that long-winded answer is Wednesday, March 3rd, tomorrow, Monday, March 8th, and that would handle 4421 and then be interviews. And then I would propose, I don't know if we have consensus here this evening amongst the members, if the members can do next Wednesday, the 10th. I'm not seeing nodding heads or agreement, Mr. President, so I would suggest.
Yes, by
Yes.
So we've got quorum, Mr. President. So thank you, colleagues. So Wednesday, March 8th would be the third and final Personnel Committee meeting, at which point we would hope to send you a recommended set of candidates or individual candidate.
We just thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you and the members of your committee for putting a lot of extra work in. This is really important, and I know that we are trying to get a clerk, a really good clerk here as soon as we possibly can. So I appreciate your work on this, and it means a lot. It's extra work, and I get that. So thank you. While we've got you, Mr. Chairman, Budget and Finance Committee.
Considering I believe there's only 2 items of yes, the appropriation order, as well as a much larger issue. I would suggest, so we don't tie up nights from my colleagues that also have committee meetings, that we can members of Budget and Finance meet at 6:30 on Wednesday evening, and then when it completes, we would begin personnel. Mr. President, I'll suggest 6:30, and I would just suggest to my colleagues, if that doesn't work tomorrow before it's posted, we'll figure out a subsequent date and time.
So right now, the tentative date, it would be the 10th, Wednesday, correct, at 6:30?
Yes, and I defer to you as the former chair. That's typically when we did them, right? It was Wednesday evening.
7 o'clock, correct?
Thank you.
What time did you, I know, sorry about all the machinations here. What time were you planning on possibly having personnel that evening on the 10th?
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Payano, could you do 6:30?
Or
Budget.
Budget and Finance?
no, next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Yes, I can do it.
It appears we have quorum, Mr. President. Yes, 6:30, please.
6:30, and then your personnel be immediately following that meeting?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. Continuing with Ordinance Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
There's going to be next Tuesday, the 9th, 7 o'clock.
Okay, Housing Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair. Housing Committee.
We don't have any item, but in case we can do Monday, but I mean, we don't have any items at this time.
So are we posting something, Mr. Chairman, or are we not going to post
I don't
something?
think it's needed.
Okay, so we're not posting anything? You can change your mind if something heats up in the next day or so.
Of course.
Okay, so nothing right now on housing. Okay. What else do we have? That's it, I think. Any other, I call them the specialty committees. Charter review is done. No committee on the whole. Public Safety Committee, anything on tap for that?
No, nothing on.
Counselor, I want to, while I have you here, I just want to do a little pulse check. A head nod would work, or a thumbs up or down. We are going to be going through a gauntlet of public hearings. We have a lot of backlog, and the clerk's office is working with the city attorney's office to try to get a lot of backlog out so we can get things done. One of those, which I think will take some time, is going to be the public hearing on the charter review. We have already made a schedule that's going to be taking place on March the 16th. My question for you is, I think we could probably dedicate a lot of time before the full council based on that. The document, as a reminder, that we have in our packets is not the entire packet of things that was approved by the Charter Review Committee, but rather all of the various ideas and premonitions and things that people have put together over the course of whatever. So it's not to be considered an endorsement, that big thing. So what I'm trying to get at, because this thing is rather large and there probably will be discussions and some questions and some debate, is I am considering, and here's the question. I'm considering whether or not there's appetite or desire to just to have one night just to deal with that. So we have a public hearing. We have to have it. It is on the 16th. People can comment. And then we would have another meeting subsequent to that so we can focus exclusively on the charter. Can I get some head nods or yeses or nos or amens or something? I got a yes from Mr. Abdu. I got a yes from Councilor Estela Reyes. And I've got Mr. Gonzalez. I'm seeing a head yes. That's all I'm seeing so far. I see a head nod from Councilor De La Cruz. And that's enough for a quorum, but I really would like to see Mr. Payano there, who kind of led the charter review.
Thank you for that, Council President. I don't know, like, I think like maybe it's because at the end of the evening, but like, I'm trying to reflect on it. So I'm neither a yes or a no on this.
Okay.
Mr. Council President.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Just wondering, I mean, we have one of the quarter, which is a constituent of mine that he have concern, and I think it's a good concern. We don't know when we're going back to a normal presence meetings.
Next week.
Next week?
Next week.
Continue on, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes. But I think that we should at least give it a second thought about his proposal. I mean, having an opportunity to invite people in person will be great, or is something that is so important to the child, to the city, which is the shadow, the city shadow. So let's give it a second thought about that. Probably that might be a good idea.
Mr. Rodriguez, I will commit to you that that question will be asked. Things are seemingly at this point starting to loosen up a little. How much they've loosened up, I don't know. There's other elements of this as well, but it is. Let me commit to you that I will follow up on that to see if we can, how we can, and when we can. Those kind of three questions, and then I can report back to this group my findings on that, so we have an idea of where we are, and maybe we can get to a consensus on that, because there's elements, as you can imagine, on all kinds of sides. People may not want to come in. Do we have Zoom capabilities? What happens if you're afraid about coming in and we don't, and only a certain number of people can be in the chamber? Lots of questions. So let me, I don't want to go through all of it now. I'm just painting a question. There's lots of questions. Let me see if we can get some answers. Thank you. And we don't need to make a decision tonight on this discussion. We have another meeting or so to go. But so give it some thought. I just want to throw that on your radar, and we can talk a little bit about it at the end of the next meeting, how we want to address it. Do we want to make it part of a regular city council meeting with a lot of other public hearings, or do we want to give it something different? So I'll leave it. We'll leave it there. At this point, I don't believe there's any other new items tonight. Mr. Abdu, yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. President, but it is the next meeting, isn't it?
The 16th is the next meeting, correct? So we do have some time, and we can talk. We can open up the public hearing at that point. Thank you for reminding me. I've lost track of that, but it is the next meeting, and we can certainly get all the input that we want or need on that, and then we can close the public hearing. And at that point, we have a possibility of then just kind of tabling it right then and there, and having a special meeting where that would be the only item. That could be or hey, listen, if you want to plow through it on the next meeting, it's going to be a lot, and we're going to have a lot. It's going to be a lot, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do it justice. But if you feel confident as a group that we can go ahead and deal with every charter revision among every other bit of city business on the same night, all right, let's try it. And maybe we'll go as far as we can, and maybe we table it, and then we come back to a different night. I'm willing to try whatever you like. So we don't need to make a decision tonight on that, I don't think. That help?
Well, I was just pointing out, Mr. President, that it is the next meeting, and I'll just close with my preference would be that we did bifurcate, and if we're going to do it virtually, in the sense that not delay it to a later time when we could do it in person, that I would want individually, I would want as much time as possible so that we could spread the word far and wide into as many people as possible, as many times as possible, so that people might not like the virtual platform, but for now it's the reality, but we give them every opportunity to know about it and input. I know, like Councilor Rodriguez, I have some pretty vocal constituents that are looking forward to this opportunity. As long as we can give them a solid date of a public hearing, that's and not to be constrained by other agenda items, I would think that would probably be optimal. Sorry, that's it.
Your point's well taken. We made a commitment already because we posted it that there will be a public hearing on the 16th. That's not even in question. The question that I'm asking is, after the public hearing, when we have an internal debate amongst ourselves, that will also be time consuming. We're definitely having a public hearing. It's definitely happening on the 16th. The question is do we then have that internal conversation among ourselves and come up with the final? Or do we then say, we've got everybody's comments in the public hearing, now we're going to have another meeting where we can talk amongst ourselves about which direction we want to go to, with of course having the advantage of having the public comment at the March 16th meeting. Hopefully that makes some sense, but we've already committed to that public hearing in 2 weeks. That's happening.
Mr. President, I make a motion to go past 10 p.m.
Is there a motion to go past 10 p.m. and to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
How about a motion to adjourn, and we don't need to go the motion past 10? Can we just do that?
I would like,
On the most.
Motion made by Mr. Babby, seconded by Councilor Dela Cruz. Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes.
Councilor Payano?
Yes.
Councilor Abdul?
yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes?
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilor Levy?
Yes.
And Council President LaPlante?
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Great night tonight, 3 hours. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.